The Confidence Game by Maria Konnikova. So, brief summary about this book. The Confidence Game is a book written by Maria Konnikova that explores the psychology and mechanics of scams, frauds, and deception. The book delves into the art of the con and examines why people fall victim to the schemes, while also shedding light on the methods employed by con artists to manipulate their targets. Konnikova, a psychologist and journalist, draws on extensive research, historical examples, and 1 minute. Konnikova, a psychologist and journalist, draws on extensive research, historical examples, and interviews with con artists to provide insights into the workings to confidence games. She reveals that the success of con relies on the human tendency to trust others and the desire for easy wealth or personal gain. The book explores various types of scams, including Ponzi schemes, fortune telling, and identity theft, highlighting the common strategies employed by con artists. Throughout the book, Kornikova analyzes the psychological tactics employed by con artists, such as building a rapport. It is psychological exercise when you get contact with someone, so exploiting emotions and creating an illusion of trust. She emphasized that anyone can become a victim of a confidence game, regardless of their intelligence or background. As skilled con artists adept at manipulating human vulnerabilities. The confidence games also examines the aftermath of falling prey a con, exploring the emotional impact and the long-lasting consequences experienced by victims. Kornikova emphasizes the importance of skepticism, critical thinking, and understanding the psychological principles behind deception as tools to protect oneself from scams. Overall, the confidence game provides a captivating exploration of the world of con artists, shedding light on the psychological dynamics that enable successful scams. The book serves as a cautionary tale and offers valuable insights into human behavior and the strategies used to exploit it. So, in other words, this book exploring how one type of people manipulating another type of people and get rich from that. So let's check out the chapters. The confidence game. So let me check. The confidence game, the put up, the play, rope, the tail, convincer, the breakdown, the send and the touch. So let me. I wanna check like from where to begin. So introduction. All right. Walk to blah blah blah. I don't know preface of most of the book because there's some blah 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 bullshit. I want to read something, practical, useful stuff. So, what about chapter 1? There's no any chapters or what? Oh yeah, here we go. Chapter 1, the grifter and the mob. He doesn't answer questions or gives easy answers. He speaks nonsense. MBS the Great tow along the ground and shivers. His face is discolored. He MBS the roots. What is it, MBS? So, MBS stands for several different terms depending on the context. Mortgage-backed securities, megabytes per second, Master of Business Studies. Interesting. Let me look up megabyte. Oh, megabyte, okay. A unit of information equal to 220 bytes. So MBS, it stands for megabytes. Okay. We're gonna make this one as, as new vocabulary. Okay, so he doesn't answer questions or give easy answers. He speaks nonsense, megabytes the cradle toe along the ground and shivers. His face is discolored. He megabytes the roots of his hair with his fingers. I'm not sure that it's fit with this context. Mortgage-backed securities. Mohammed bin Salman? No. Master of Business Studies, maybe. Okay, let's continue reading. Profile of a liar, 900 BCE. Whenever people ask me if I have ever been conned, I tell them TMTH. What the fuck? Why like a bunch of abbreviation? TMTH, what the fuck is that? The acronym TMT doesn't have widely recognized commonly used. It's an acronym that widely used or has a specific definition in popular research in a variety of fields without additional context. So I tell them the TMTH. Tell them the TMTH. What the fuck is that? I apologize, but I still don't have enough context. Even ChatGPT doesn't fucking understand this TMTH. Okay. I have no idea. I have never given money to a Ponzi scheme or gotten tripped up on an unwinnable game of three-card Monte. That much I know. And there have been some smaller deceptions I have certainly fallen for, though whether they quality as full-fledged cons is a matter of dispute. But there is a thing about cons: the best of them are never discovered. We don't ever realize we have fallen. We simply write our loss as a matter of bad luck. Magicians often resist showing the same trick twice. Once the element of surprise is gone, the audience becomes free to pay attention to everything else, and those much more likely to discern the MSM. What the fuck is that? Like another acronym or something not understandable? Minimum standard, Master of Science and Engineering. This book written in a stupid way with stupid acronyms. Okay, let's keep reading. Maybe after going to be something interesting, useful. So, let me put this way. Once the element of surprise is gone, the audience become free to pay attention to everything else, and is those much more likely to discern the MSM. You don't fucking know what the fuck is this? So they are so well on it that there is practically no deception to spot. Harry Houdini, the magician and famed exposure of frauds, boasted that he could figure out any trick once he thrice. This time, another time for Cambridge Dictionary. Cambridge Dictionary, please help me out. Cambridge Dictionary, you're always helping me. So, what's the fucking word? Infinitum, Harry Houdini, the magician and famed exposure of frauds, boasted that he could figure out any trick, and once he'd thrice, yeah, I think so, it's a correct pronunciation, and the meaning, it's a verb and mean 3 times. Oh, that's easy, that's it. It's thrace. Alright, thrace. I got you. I got your point. Okay. What about... So, thrice, alright. So, what else? They're so well on it that there's practically no deception to spot. Harry Houdini, the magician and famed exposure of frauds, boasted that he could figure out any trick once he thrice seen it. In other words, when he sees something 3 times, he can figure out the secret of the trick. One evening at Chicago's Great Northern Hotel, the story goes, a fellow conjurer, Di Vernon, approached him with a card trick. Vernon removed a card from the top of the deck, not dick, okay, and asked Houdini to initial it an HH in the corner. The card was then placed in the middle of the deck. Vernon snapped his fingers. It was a miracle. The top card in the deck was now Houdini's. It was, as the name of the routine suggests, an ambitious card. No matter where you put it, it rose to the top. 7 times Vernon demonstrated, and 7 times Houdini was stumped. The truly clever trick needs no hiding. In this case, it was a sleight of hand effect that is often performed by skilled magicians today, but was back then a novelty. When it comes to cons, the exact same principle holds. The best confidence games remain below the radar. Let me check out. I think it's radar. Radar. All right. Radar. Okay. Radar, if you don't know the definition, system that uses radio waves to find the position of object that cannot be seen. So radar, it's not uncommon, in fact, for the same person to fall for the exact same con multiple times. James Franklin, Northfleet, Texas rancher you will never meet again later on, lost first $20,000 and then in short order $25,000 to the exact same racket and the exact same gang. He had never realized the first go-round was a scam. David Maurer describes one victim who, several years after falling for a well-known wire con, the grifter pretends to have a way of getting race results seconds before they announce it, allowing the mark to place a sure win bet. Spotted his deceivers on the street. He ran toward them. Their hearts sank. Surely he was going to turn them in. Not at all. He was wondering if he could once more play that game he'd lost at way back when. He was certain that this time his luck had turned. The men were only too happy to comply. In other words, this kind of scammers using the same principle like magicians in a way when they distracting you with one thing, and meanwhile they are using their own another sacred stuff that you don't have a clue what's going on, and you just figure out what's happened after a while. Yeah, it's the same, distracting game. So even someone like Bemi Madoff went undetected for at least 20 years. He was 70 when his scheme crumbled. What he had died before it blew up. One can imagine a future where his victims would be none the wiser as long as new investments kept coming in. In June 2007, Slate writer Justin Peters decided to be creative about his airfare to Italy. Short on money, he was nevertheless eager to spend a few months out of the country, and he had what he considered a pretty damn brilliant plan for solving the dilemma. Again, in June 2007, writer Justin Peters decided to be creative about his airfare to Italy. Short on money, he was nevertheless eager to spend a few months out of the country. So we're recording, yeah. So, and he had what he considered a pretty damn brilliant plan for solving the dilemma. He had buy airline miles from someone willing to part with them, and then use them to purchase a reduced fare. He promptly started scouring the internet for anyone with a miles surplus. He was lucky. Soon after he began his search, he found Captain Chris Hansen, a pilot with countless unused miles he would put up for purchase on Craigslist. Peters quickly replied to his posting. God forbid the miles went someone else. They talked on the phone. Captain Chris seemed knowledgeable and friendly. Our conversation convinced me that he was on the level, Peters writes. A deal was promptly arranged. $650, 100,000 miles. PayPal, simple. Except PayPal rejected the transaction. How odd, Peters thought. He followed up the captain about the error. The pilot was strangely silent. Peters, however, was desperate. Its main feeling or showing or involving hopeless sense that a situation is so bad as to be impossible. In other words, it's an adjective and mean being hopeless. So I guess this captain was fake and he just wanted to scam him, but let's see what's happened. So his scheduled departure date loomed ever closer, and still no tickets. So he returned to the hunt. Bingo. Franco Borga ready. Seller of miles. Borga responded promptly and, of all things, included his driver's license in the reply. He was who he said he was not some Craigslist scammer. A phone call later, a very nice conversation, and they were in business. $700 on a green dot card, and the miles would be his. Green dot card is a favorite of the con artist, a gift card that you can easily buy at any supermarket or drugstore. Yeah, I heard about this. That scammers using gift cards because they like these kind of gift cards anonymous, and you can buy it whenever you want in US. So you can recharge them, and anyone with the account number can access the balance. A way to move funds without the hassle of wire transfer. So 4 days later, still no miles. It was finally dawning on Peters that he might have been scammed, but then, lo and behold, his long lost pilot resurfaced. He had been abroad, he explained, with limited email access, but he still had the miles for Peters' use. Victory. Of course, Peters still wanted them, especially, he told the captain, after he'd been so callously. What the fuck is this? Callously. So, what does it mean? It's mean callously. Callously, in a way that it is unkind, cruel, and without sympathy or feeling for other people. Okay, in other words, it's mean like being without emotions. So, alright. Okay. Without showing, in other words, it's mean, hiding your emotions. Alright. So, another day, another new vocabulary, and we're gonna be closer to the native speakers. I hope so. And one day, I'm gonna hear, "Welcome home, sir." Yeah, yes, sir. I fucking love English, but sometimes I have to learn new words, which is have weird pronunciation. So callously, it's mean, in other words, without showing emotions. Alright, so. 4 days later, still no miles. It was finally dawning on Peters that he might have been scammed, but then, lo and behold, his long lost pilot resurfaced. He had been abroad, he explained, with limited email access, but he still had the miles of Peters' use. Victory. Of course, Peters still wanted them, especially, he told the captain, after he had been so callously scammed. Captain Chris sympathized completely. The internet was a predator place to put Peter's mind at ease. The captain then sent him a contract. He was, as Peters had always known, on the level. PayPal still on the fritz. Peters quickly wired the promised $650. By this point, everyone but Peters can see how the story will end. 3 days, no miles. 4, 5, 6 days, no miles, no emails. He had fallen for the exact same scam twice in 1 week. Holy shit. In this case, he had clear proof of the deception, no miles, but imagine a situation where chance plays a bigger role. A stock market raised an investment who is to say it wasn't just bad luck. Yeah, get scammed to this about the same stuff 2 times. P.T. Barnum may never have said there's a sucker born every minute. He will of it. Semblance. What is it? Cambridge Dictionary, please tell me. So. Semblance. Semblance, a situation or condition that is similar to what is wanted or expected, but is not exactly as hoped for. So, in other words, it is synonym of seemingly. Okay, another definition. Semblance, it is similarity to something or the appearance of being or having something. Similarity to something, like when something same to another thing. For example, she raising 2 kids, holding down a full-time job, and trying to maintain some semblance of a personal life. Having something, similarity to something. She's raising 2 kids, holding down a full-time job, and trying to maintain some semblance of a personal life. But she has no chance with 2 kids. So, okay, another word for our vocabulary. Alright, so callously semblance, we have many words today, guys. Yeah. So, semblance. So, semblance. Okay, let's go. So, yeah, I know it's boring, but, I want to understand which words I'm reading. And when I'm not lazy, I check out the definition pronunciation. I want to make my cheap English a little bit expensive. So, his father, Ferdinand Senior, was French-Canadian, the first generation to have made it south of the border. He had come in search of wealth, and by the time young Fred was born, he had found some semblance of it. In other words, he found some similarity to something from the movie business. Holy fucking shit. My iPad just fallen down to the MacBook. It was like a car accident. Alright, so let's put it this fucking iPad this way. I don't want to break iPad during the recording. It's not, I think, good idea, because after I can't read for you. Yeah, I want to read and have a nice conversation at the same time. Alright, fucking hell. Anyway, I'm gonna read this way. So, he had come in search of wealth, and by the time young Fred was born, had found some semblance of it from the movie business. He had started as a simple projectionist in Providence, Rhode Island, but over the years he had saved enough that he dreamed of owning his own theater in Lawrence. He had met a local baker, and before long, he started as simple projectionist in Providence, Rhode Island, but over the years He saved enough that he dreamed of owning his own theater. In Lawrence, he had met a local baker, and before long, the Tommy Demara amusement company was running at his first cinema, the Palace. It was a success, and Fred Senior seemed born to it. He was, Demara's mother later recalled, one of the few men who could carry a cane and sport pass and not to look foolish doing it. Fred wasn't born in that modest State Street house. No, sir. He was a product of the fashionable Jackson Street, where his classmates at the Emily G. Weatherby School were mostly the sons of mill workers. He stood out. He was a class above and a head above, too. Even then, Fred was a giant. Fred wasn't particularly popular, what with his constant better than thoughtness, but nor was he particularly disliked. That is, until another boy thought he would ratted him out to the teacher. "We're going to get out you at lunch," he and newly formed posse promised. Fred promptly went home at recess, but before lunch he returned. When the boys surrounded him, he pulled out a dual-linked pistol. "I'm going to shoot your guts out," he threatened. Two more guns were found in his bag, and Fred was suspended. His behavior soon grew so out of control that he was placed in a Catholic school, St. Augustine's, and it was there that he swapped flat-out violence for a slyer sort of approach. St. Augustine's had a Valentine's Day tradition. Each eighth grader would give a seventh grade boy a small gift. It was a simple ceremonial exchange to symbolize a turning over of the class to the rising eighth graders. By the time Fred was in eighth grade, though the family's fortunes had taken a sharp downward turn, shortly after his 11th birthday, the Tommy Demara Amusement Company went bankrupt. Goodbye Jackson Street. In its stead, an old carriage house on the outskirts of town, State Street. Demara desperately didn't want to be poor. "Please, little Jesus and Mother Mary," he would pray, "please don't make us poor. If you don't, I will say a rosary every night of my life. I will say a rosary every night of my life." His prayer went unanswered. That February morning, he wanted to make an impression, show those poor Catholic kids how a real gentleman behaves. And so he made this way to the bakery and candy shop of Jackson Street. So, to the family he knew, he still had an account there. So, no, again. And so he made his way to the bakery and candy shop of Jackson Street, close to the house that was no longer theirs. The family he knew still had an account there. He arranged for the largest heart-shaped box of chocolates to be delivered to the school at 3 sharp. The box never came. Somehow the order had gotten lost into the mix, or perhaps the confectioner had grown suspicious that the Demara's account wasn't what it once was. Whatever the hold-up, if there was one thing Fred had hated more than being poor. It was the humiliation of being called a liar. He had promised the biggest gift the school had ever seen, and he had come up empty-handed. He vowed to make it right. He returned to the store in a huff. This time he ordered not only large hard but smaller boxes for every child in the grade to put on his account. This time there was no mix-up. If the boy had the nerve to order up such a storm, clearly the family could pay. You wouldn't do something like that and do it so confidently unless you could back it up. The boxes promptly arrived, wheeled to St. Augustine's in a large cart overflowing with chocolate. The Demara family, of course, had no way of paying for them. From then on until at 15, he dropped out to join the first of a string of religious orders. Fred Demara was known as the Candy Butcher, and from there it was a stone's throw to kill first full-on con, stealing an unsuspecting student's credentials to try to get a commission in the Navy. Was the life of an impostor always his destiny? Was he born to be a grifter? Con artists are evil human beings with malicious intentions and no conscience. Would that it were so. In other words, con mans don't have, red lines that it's good or bad. They just thinking about their own benefit. So would that it were so. It would make the world a much easier place to be in. We had referred out the bad guys and we are on our merry way. The reality, however, is far messier. In his essay, Diddling, Edgar Allan Poe describes the features of the swindlers: minuteness, interest, perseverance, ingenuity. What is it? Ingenuity. The quality of being clever. Ingenuity. Ingenuity. Yes. In other words, it's related with word genius, I guess. Ingenuity. Yeah. Okay. Ingenuity. Another word. Yeah. Another three words, and we already like a native, yeah? Okay. This word is ingenuity. So, for be honest, for now, this book, nothing special. Like the phrases, words, what I reading, it's like a duh. Sounds obvious. Con man, don't have principles, blah blah blah. And maybe after it's gonna be something interesting, but for now, I don't know. Ingenuity. Yeah, I just writing down some new words for my crew. So, ingenuity, so definition: someone's ability to think of clever new ways of doing something. Okay. Audacity, nonchalance, originality, impertinence, and green. Modern psychology agrees with him on one particular point: the nonchalance. For the most part, humans have evolved as cooperative animals. We can trust one another, rely on one another, walk around with a wallet full of cash, not worrying that every single stranger will rob us, and go to bed with certainty that we won't be killed in our sleep. Our time, our emotions have evolved to support that status quo. We feel warm and fuzzy when we help someone. We feel shame and guilty when when we have lied or cheated or otherwise harmed someone. Sure, all of us deviate now and then, but for the most part, we have grown to be quite decent, or the opposite of nonchalant. Nonchalant? Yeah, I guess it's not correct pronunciation. Nonchalant.
Nonchalant.
Nonchalant. Where the fucking shit? Yeah. Sometimes English has no logic, and you just, have to follow stupid pronunciation. Nonchalant.
Nonchalant.
Nonchalant. Behaving in a calm manner, often in a way that suggests you're not interested or do not care. UK pronunciation?
Nonchalant.
Nonchalant. Carefree. So, in other words, when you don't give a fuck, it's mean nonchalant. Yeah, nonchalant. It's an adjective. Yeah, it's a polite way to say I don't give a fuck. Nonchalant. Okay. Vocabulary. Nonchalant. So, we know nonchalant, the meaning of nonchalant. It's mean when you don't give a fuck. So, what else? Again, I lost my line. So, but for the most part, we have grown to be quite decent, or the opposite of nonchalant. Opposite of nonchalant, what is it? Yeah, when you care about someone or something. So, for the most part, we care about others and know that they care to some extent about us. Otherwise, much of society would collapse. But there is an exception. A very small number of people may have evolved to take advantage of the general good of others. Yeah, in other words, people who don't care, in other words, at this context, scammers, they using another people's weaknesses to take care about others, and they get benefit from that. That's one of the reason why people get scammed, because they use it to trust people. Yeah. So, but there is an exception. A very small number of people may have evolved to take advantage of the general good of others, fueled by their nonchalance that makes many a con artist what he is. These people do not care. They remain perfectly indifferent to the pain they cause as long as they end up on top. It makes perfect sense. If the vast majority of the people who surround you basically decent, you can lie, cheat, and steal all you want and get on famously. but the approach only works if few take advantage of it. If everyone did the same, the system would self-destruct, and we would all end up doing wars. Yeah, like hopefully most of the people good, and we can trust. Not like trust, but I mean most of the people good, and they behave in a good way. That's why we still alive. We still didn't kill each other or whatever bad thing. Yeah, that's the good thing about human beings, that yeah, we have scammers and another bad guys, bad people, but still the amount of good people be like much bigger. So the vast majority of the people who surround you are basically decent. You can lie, cheat, and steal all you want and get on famously. But the approach only works if you take advantage of if few take advantage of it. If everyone did the same, the system would self-destruct, and we would all end up doing wars. Calculated nonchalance is only an adaptive strategy when it's a minority one. Or as Adrian Rain, a psychologist at the University of Pennsylvania, whose research centers on antisocial behavior, puts it, persistent immoral behavior can be thought of as an alternative evolutionary strategy that can be beneficial at low rates in society. By lacking the emotional experiences that serve the deter immoral behavior. And by using deception and manipulation, individuals may be able to successfully cheat their way through life. So again, persistent immoral behavior can be thought of as an alternative evolutionary strategy that can be beneficial at low rates in society by lacking the emotional experience that serve the deterrent moral behavior. And by using deception and manipulation, individuals may be able to successfully cheat their way through life. Yeah, if you know, but it's also about being smart actually, because even though that cheating, scamming, it is of course bad and illegal, and if you don't want to others catch you, you have to do it in a smart way. Otherwise, yeah, you're gonna be under arrest or something. So there's another word for this: calculated, inbred, even nonchalance, psychopathy, or the basic absence of empathetic feelings for your fellow human beings. It's not nonchalance brought to a biological extreme, but do con artists actually fit that bill? Is it fair to say that the Mara-like grifters of the world are more likely than not clinical psychopaths, or are they just slightly more devious versions of our more conniving selves? Is it a qualitative difference between our small daily deceptions and the wiles of the confidence man? Or is it just a simple matter of degree? Robert Harris' psychopathy checklist revised, the most common assessment tool for antisocial psychopathical behavior looks for things like responsibility, remorse, pathological lying, manipulativeness, cunning, promiscuity, and general impulsiveness. superficial charm, grandiosity, and the like. Score high enough, and you are labeled psychopathic or suffering soul. Score high enough, and you labeled psychopathic or suffering soul for the many such you leave in your wake. One of the defining marks of psychopaths is the inability to process emotion like other people. Yeah, like what people make psychopaths when they don't have how they saying sympathy, uh, empathy to other person. When someone completely egoistic, selfish, and doesn't care what other person will feel if he will do something bad. He just completely care about his benefit for whatever price it's gonna be. So on the one of the defining marks of the psychopath is their inability to process emotion like other people. But maybe it is also, I don't know, maybe kinda sickness. To a true psychopath, your suffering means nothing. There is no empathy, there is no remorse, there is no guilt. When psychopaths experience something that would shock most people, disturbing images, for instance, their pulse stays steady, their sweet glance normal, their heart rate slow. In one study of clinical psychopathy, psychopaths failed to engage the same emotional areas and as non-psychopaths when making difficult moral decisions. For instance, whether or not to smother or a crying baby, if doing so would save entire village, while a failure to do so would condemn everyone, baby included. For the overwhelming majority of people, it's a draining choice. The emotional areas of the brain fight it out with the moral utilitarian ones for an answer. In psychopaths, the battle is absent. They exhibit nonchalance in its most extreme form. Psychopaths, according to Hare, make up an estimated 1% of the male population. Among women, they almost non-existent, like most of the psychopaths is male. Alright, but other male also suffer because of that. Those still present, that means that out of every 100 men you meet, one will be clinically diagnosable as a psychopath. But will he also be a bomb con man? On one level, the data seem to suggest a direct affinity between the two, grifter and psychopath developing hand in hand. One tantalizing piece of evidence: when people acquire the neural deficits associated with psychopaths later in life, they start behaving remarkably well, psychopathically, and remarkably like a con artist. Yeah, in other words, it's an interesting point that psychopaths has a good chances to be a scammer because, yeah, it kind of makes sense if psychopaths like don't care about others, and plus if he or she gonna be smart enough, it is like a dangerous mix of package of perfect scammer. you know in one hand you have a smart brain, and in another hand you have you don't give a fuck about others. You just care about your own benefit. Yeah, so for now it was you know 57 pages of this book, and I think next time I will continue, but because it seems like interesting book. Yeah. At the beginning it was like boring, but now I getting some insights. Yeah, thank you for listening. See you next time.